After 40, your body starts dismantling itself. Not dramatically, not obviously, quietly. About 1% of your muscle disappears every year, and after 50, it's more like 2% every year. But most men don't notice until something breaks. They throw out their back picking up a suitcase, they can't keep up with their kids, they catch a glimpse of themselves in a mirror and barely recognize what's looking back. But here's the part nobody talks about. It's not aging that does this. It's how you respond to aging, the choices you make. Most men are making one of two mistakes. The first, they train like they're 25, grinding through exercises that destroy their joints, overloading their body with excess training volumes that they can hardly recover from before jumping into their next gym session, all while barely building any muscle. 90% of weight training programs are designed for 25-year-old bodies, which have a very different recovery capacity, a different joint tolerance, and a very different hormonal response. When you copy that playbook after 40, you pay in inflammation, in injury, and overtraining and setbacks that take months to recover from. And then there's the second mistake that the other group of men over 40 are making. They just give up entirely or don't even try, instead simply resigning themselves to the decline. Both paths lead to the same place. Your muscles quietly dissolve, your metabolism slows, that stubborn belly fat appears, and if you're in a group that isn't training, your bones weaken without load and your joints start to deteriorate without the mechanical stress that they need to stay healthy. But there is a third option. There are 7 specific movements, not 20, not a complicated program, but 7 simple movements that stop muscle loss and in many cases reverse it without wrecking your shoulders, knees, or lower back, or better yet, even strengthening them. Now, these 7 exercises will tell your body to keep building, to keep the muscle, to keep the hormones, to keep the bone density, to keep functioning. Now, I've spent 2 decades testing what actually works for men in midlife. I've coached hundreds through this period of their life, and today I'm giving you the complete list, which 7 work best, why they work, and how to fit them into your week. I'm Matt Farr, a health coach and author who spent over 2 decades helping everyone from millionaires and billionaires through to everyday folk to boost their energy and slow midlife decline. My books and online courses have sold over 12,000 copies worldwide, and this channel brings you the same science-backed strategies to build real, lasting strength over 40. Not the flashy stuff you see everywhere, the stuff that actually works. And if you're finding that results are much harder to achieve after 40 compared to your earlier years, trust me, you're not alone. And stay until the end, because the 7th movement is the one almost everyone skips, and it might be the most important of all for you. So we're going to start with the foundation, the single most important exercise for men over 40. But before we do that, let me first explain why the rules of training are so different after 40. So let's be honest about what's going on internally in your body after 40, because understanding this changes how you approach training. So firstly, testosterone drops about 1% every year. In addition, your muscle mass starts to diminish through something called sarcopenia. And that's a technical term used for age-related muscle loss. Now that all starts from around 30, but it's not until you get into your 40s that you really start to notice it. And sarcopenia really comes about through leading a more sedentary lifestyle alongside these age-related drops in testosterone and growth hormone. Then there's your metabolism that starts to slow down, in part because of this loss of muscle. And then there's the belly fat. It really starts to creep in whether you want it to or not at this point in your life. But that's just the surface level stuff. Your posture also starts to shift in ways you don't notice until someone takes a photo from the side. Your shoulders round forward from years of desk work, your hips tighten from too much sitting, your spine loses cushioning between the vertebrae, which is why some mornings you feel like you've aged 10 years overnight. But here's what nobody mentions. Your stress resilience, your mood, your sleep quality, they are affected too. They all depend on how you move. It's all connected in ways that might surprise you. So you see, the right exercises don't just build muscle. They protect your joints, improve posture, sharpen your thinking, and genuinely add years of health to your life. Whilst the wrong ones can accelerate the very decline you're trying to avoid. So let's look at which 7 make the cut, and let's start with the most important one. Exercise 1, the deadlift. The deadlift is regarded as the highest royalty among movements for a reason, and nothing else comes close when it's done properly. And here's the hidden problem that nobody talks about. Most men over 40 have a weak posterior chain, so that's everything running down your back, including your lower traps, your glutes, your hamstrings, and lower back muscles. And these muscles essentially switch off from sitting all day, especially if you're crouched over a desk all day. And when they're weak, other areas have to pick up the slack. So areas not designed to take the brunt of the load. And then you start complaining of back pain. You can think of it like your body's support cables. When they're slack, your spine takes all the load. Yet when you lift heavy from the floor with proper form, it changes the game, and your body responds with a hormonal surge. Testosterone and growth hormone flood your system. It's natural anti-aging that's built right into this movement. Your nervous system learns to recruit more muscle fibers, your bones get denser under the load, and those weak, inactive muscles that the body forgot it had after years of slouching at the desk get reawakened. And the research backs this up convincingly. A large study of nearly 140,000 adults published in The Lancet found that grip strength, which deadlifts help to build brilliantly, predicts how long you'll live. Each 5 kilogram increase in grip strength was linked to a 16% increase in mortality risk. Stronger grip, longer life, simple as that. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything spectacular about the muscles in your wrist, but grip strength is considered an accurate and simple gauge of overall strength and muscle mass. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of the technique for this, or any other exercise for that matter here, but there are a plethora of videos on YouTube you can find on deadlift technique. But in terms of frequency, you want to be doing it about twice a week, 2 or 3 sets for around 6 to 12 reps. And start at about 60% of what feels heavy and progress slowly over weeks and months. Form always comes first. And if it causes you lower back issues, use a trap bar instead. It can significantly reduce spinal stress compared to using a straight bar. And it does this because it allows for a more upright torso while giving you the same benefits without risking your lower back. Now, deadlifts build your back. And it does this because it allows for a more upright torso position while giving you the same benefits. Now, the deadlift builds your back beautifully. But what about your legs? This is where most people make their first mistake. Exercise 2, the goblet squat. It's very simple. Hold a weight at your chest, squat down and stand back up. It's a simple movement, but it has profound effects. But here's a myth you've probably heard on numerous occasions. Squatting is bad for your knees, especially after 40, but it's completely wrong. What actually happens is the opposite of what most people expect. Deep squats spread lubricating fluid throughout the joint. And think of it like oiling a rusty hinge. The movement actually feeds the cartilage. Several studies have confirmed exactly this. Squatting supports knee cartilage health rather than destroying it. But that's on the assumption, of course, that your form is sound and you're progressing sensibly. Now, I should say this is generic advice, and for some, it may need to be adapted. So if you have knee issues, seek professional guidance on this. Now, one advantage of the goblet squat over other squats is that it's a front-loaded position, which forces you to stay upright, which takes the pressure off your lower back, unlike with barbell squats where the weight sits behind and often results in you leaning forward. So if you have back concerns, a goblet squat is probably your best option. So here's how to implement it. Squat twice a week, 2 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps. Go as deep as you can whilst keeping a flat back. And if you find your heels lift off the ground, just put small plates under them until your ankle mobility improves. Once goblet squats feel comfortable, you can then progress to front squats if you want to keep challenging yourself. Now, the next exercise might surprise you because most people dismiss it as something for beginners. Exercise 3, push movements. And this is broader than most people think when they hear the word pushing. Most men over 40 default straight to the bench press. And look, the bench press isn't evil, But there is a hidden problem with how most guys are doing it, which is a much bigger issue once you hit 40. You see, when your shoulder blade gets pinned against a flat bench, it can't move in the way it's designed, and that's where the impingement starts. Impingement is that deep, grinding shoulder pain that doesn't really shift, no matter how much you rest it. Now, the problem isn't pushing, the problem is how you're pushing. Now, the much smarter approach is to simply rotate through push variations that allow your shoulder blade to move more freely and load the joint from different angles. So here's 3 examples of what I'm talking about. The first one is a dumbbell chest press, and that can be done flat or on a slight incline. Now, because each pendantly, your shoulders can find their natural path rather than being locked into a fixed bar position. And that puts a lot less stress on the shoulder and gives you a lot more range and freedom on which to move. Also happens to be better at stimulating the muscle because of the larger range. Then there's the landmine press, where a barbell is anchored in a corner and you press at an angle. It's one of the most underrated movements for men over 40, but the arc of the movement is much more joint friendly and it loads the upper chest really well, and it's forgiving on your shoulders at the same time. For many men at this age, I've had a bit of mileage on. And finally, there's the overhead press, using dumbbells rather than barbell. And this builds shoulder strength and stability that transfers to almost everything else in life. And when done standing or seated without a back support, it also challenges your core to brace and support the load, making it more functional than most other push movement. So rotating between these keeps the joints fresh, it helps to develop strength from multiple angles, and removes the cumulative wear and tear that comes from hammering the same movement week in after week, aka the holy grail of every 25-year-old gym bro, the infamous bench press. So how to implement it: train push variations 2 to 3 times a week, 2 to 3 sets with about 8 to 12 reps, and pick 1 or 2 variations per session rather than stacking all 3 in the same workout. There are other shoulder-friendly push movements as well, of course, but these are 3 good ones that you can get started with. Now, if you're finding this useful, please this video and let me know in the comments below what you're finding is most helpful. It really helps me to understand what to include in future videos. But here's the thing nobody warned you about. All this pushing creates a problem if you don't balance it with what comes next. The size 4 is rowing movement. And this is where everything starts to tie together. Here's a hidden cause of shoulder pain that nobody talks about, and you're probably experiencing it right now without even realizing it. If you sit at a desk, and let's be honest, these days, who doesn't? Your shoulders are likely rounding forwards as you watch this. Your upper back is weak, your chest is tight. This imbalance pulls your whole posture out of alignment and creates problems that often show up many months or sometimes years later. So those can help improve this directly. Like the deadlift, they strengthen key postural muscles. But in their case, they strengthen your rhomboids, your mid-traps, and rear deltoids. These are the muscles that pull you upright and keep your shoulders back where they actually belong. Research and clinical experience consistently show that balancing horizontal pushing exercises with pulling exercises reduces shoulder injury. It's simple maths when you think about it. Balancing your pushing with pulling and things stay aligned. Cable rows, dumbbell rows, bent over rows, they all work really well. Pick whichever one you have access to. So how to implement it? Very simply, again, 2 to 3 times a week, 2 to 4 sets, about 8 to 12 reps. And here's the golden rule I give every client. For every push exercise, do at least 1 opposing pull movement. That helps to keep your shoulders and posture healthy for decades rather than falling apart by 50. So that's 4 down, that's 3 to go. So far, we've covered the deadlift for building your posterior chain and really getting that hormonal response, the goblet squat for building leg strength and knee health, push patterns, and rows to help balance all that pushing to help fix your posture. But even if you nail all 4 of those perfectly, there's still one movement that quietly builds something most people never think about until it's too late. 5th is farmer's walks. And don't let the simplicity of them fool you for a second. To do them, simply pick up 2 heavy weights, hold your posture tall, and walk. And that's pretty much it. But this builds grip strength, core stability, and cardiovascular fitness all at the same time. 3 benefits from one movement that takes less than 60 seconds per set. But here's what's actually happening whilst you walk. Your core muscles fire constantly to stop your spine from collapsing sideways under the load. What's more, it's done in a way that trains your core for functional, everyday activity. Think about it. Training is highly specific. Traditional core training is typically done on the floor, incorporating static holds or slow, steady movements. But how often do you use your body that way in your everyday life? Try never. The difference is farmers' walks train your core in a way to actually use your body. Professor Stuart McGill, who is one of the world's leading spine and back specialists, advocates for loaded carries as an excellent core stability exercises, creating functional stiffness patterns that protect your back. Farmers' walks, along with exercises like squats, fit perfectly into this category. They're better than crunches, better than planks, better than most core exercises most people spend their time on. Now, I'm not saying those traditional core exercises don't have their place, but the crossover to your everyday movement from doing these exercises is very limited. Now, also remember what I said earlier about grip strength, predicting how long you will live. This is how you build it in the most practical way possible. So how to implement it? Walk with weights 2 to 3 times per week for about 30 to 60 seconds per set, doing about 2 or 3 sets. And aim to carry 50 to 70% of your body weight total between both hands. Of course, you're not going to start with that weight. But as an example, if you weigh 80 kilos, you're looking at about 40 to 55 kilos split between both hands. And you want to stand tall. Obviously, don't lean forwards. Your grip limiting factor. When you can't hold on anymore, put them down. Now, speaking of movements that look very strange, but deliver incredible results. Exercise number 6, the Turkish Get Up. The 6th exercise is the Turkish Get Up. And I'll be honest, this one looks very odd when you first see it. So you lie down holding a weight overhead, then you stand up for a series of positions. Then you reverse the whole thing back down. It's very awkward at first, but transformative with practice. It requires good form and technique to do it properly. So get professional guidance, or at the very least, study some good videos on YouTube that cover it. Now here's why it's particularly useful for men over 40. This single exercise helps to train shoulder stability, hip mobility, and thoracic rotation, and core strength, all woven into one flowing fluid movement. It's like a full MOT for your entire body, checking everything at once. And for those of you not in the UK who don't know what an MOT is, an MOT is essentially an annual vehicle safety inspection, repair process we have in the UK to ensure your car is roadworthy. Turkish Get-Ups improve shoulder stability and proprioception. That's basically your awareness of where your arms are in space without needing to actually look. So for men with stiff upper backs and cranky shoulders from years of desk work, this is medicine. It's not really the fun kind, but the kind you actually need. So here's how to implement it. Practice twice a week, 2 or 3 sets of about 3 to 5 reps on each side. You want to begin without any weight, and I know that sounds really easy, but trust me, if you've never done it before, getting the technique right is harder than you think. Just learn the pattern first. Some coaches suggest balancing a shoe on your fist, so if it falls off when your arm wobbles, which obviously then gives you instant feedback. After a few weeks of getting the movement smooth, add a light kettlebell. 8 kilos is a good place to start, and then progress over months, not really weeks. There is no rush here, of course. Now, if you're finding this useful, hit subscribe. There's a lot more content like this on the channel, and there's a lot more to come. So let's take stock of where we are. We've covered deadlifts for the posterior chain strength and hormones, the goblet squat for knees and legs, push movements for chest without joint damage, rows for posture and shoulder, farmer's walks for grip and core strength, and Turkish Get-Ups for mobility and stability combined. And those are 6 movements that cover a huge amount of ground. But there's one more, and honestly, this one almost everyone overlooks because it doesn't really feel like exercise. Exercise 7, Zone 2 cardio. I know you might be thinking, I came here for strength exercises, and now he's talking about cardio. But this isn't the intense stuff. But here's the thing, this is going to help you get the most out of the strength training routine. And I'll explain why in just a moment. Zone 2 means you can hold an actual conversation while you're doing it. Heart rate somewhere around 115 to 140 beats per minute, depending on your age. It feels almost too easy, like you're not really doing anything worthwhile. But that's exactly the point. So here's what's happening inside your body that you can't see. You're building more mitochondria. Think of these as tiny power stations inside every cell of your body. More mitochondria means more energy production, better fat burning, clearer thinking throughout the day. You're literally upgrading your cellular hardware whilst also aiding your gains from strength training exercises covered here. And from a training perspective, having more mitochondria doesn't just mean more energy. It means you're able to recover faster between sets, recover faster between workouts, to heal and regenerate. So you're literally upgrading your cellular hardware whilst also aiding the gains from your strength training exercises here. Research has shown Zone 2 training also improves metabolic flexibility, and that's your body's ability to switch between different fuel sources efficient. And for men over 40 specifically, studies have found Zone 2 training to be highly effective for burning visceral fat. And that's the dangerous stuff that wraps around your organs that you can't see. But for many men in their 40s, it contributes to a great deal of the health problems that we see. So here's how to do it very simply: 2 to 4 sessions a week, roughly 30 to 60 minutes each time. Now that sounds like a lot, I know, and I'm going to explain a simple way to bring this into your life without being a major tax on your time in a moment. But Zone 2 exercises can include everything from cycling, brisk walking, swimming, rowing, that kind of thing. You just pick what you actually enjoy doing. You see, the best cardio is the one you consistently do week after week, not the one that's theoretically optimal, but you hate. Most people go too hard because they think more effort means better results. And if you can't chat comfortably whilst you're doing it, slow down. Now, one of the easiest ways to introduce Zone 2 activities is as activities you're already doing as part of your everyday life. So for example, bring them into your daily commute. That could mean cycling to work a few times a week, or it could mean getting off the bus or tube or tram or train a stop or two early, or maybe even parking a mile away from the office and walking in. Maybe it means taking a walking meeting, a lunch break walk, shopping at the supermarket a mile down the road instead of the one that's just 2 minutes around the corner. These are just simple ways to create opportunities for Zone 2 exercises. It doesn't need to be just another workout to try to cram into your already busy day that you never get time for. Explore simple, time-efficient ways you can introduce these activities into your life. Just get creative. Walking a lot more at a fair pace, of course, is a really simple way to do this. So before I close this off, here's 3 bonus tips that will support you when implementing these exercises. Essentially, these are 3 rules for progressing sensibly. 1, only add weight when your form is genuinely solid. Ego lifting leads to injury, and injury not only leads to months of lost progress, but often months of regress. Number 2, every 4 to 6 weeks, take a deload where you cut your volume in half. Let your body catch up with what you've been asking of it. And 3, sleep matters more than any supplement you could buy. Poor sleep kills your recovery no matter how perfect your training is. So prioritize it ruthlessly. So here's the truth most people don't want to hear. After 40, you can't train randomly and expect results. You need the right movements done consistently with intelligent progression over months and years. These 7 exercises cover everything that matters: strength, mobility, stability, cardiovascular health, longevity, all of it. You don't need fancy equipment or a gym full of machines. You don't need 2 hours a day or some complicated periodization regime. You need just these 7 movements done properly week after week with patience. Most people will watch this and do nothing with it. They'll scroll to the next videos, forget everything they just learned here, and wonder why 6 months down the line, nothing's really changed. I really encourage you not to be most people. Make a commitment to yourself today. Start small. You don't need to bring all of this in from day one. Ultimately, your body is either building or breaking down at any given moment in time. There's no standing still after 40. These 7 movements will tip the scales in your favor. Now, I've covered the 7 most important exercises to focus on after 40. What I haven't talked about is some of the most common mistakes people make when starting a new exercise program. And for that, check out this video.